So how you guys doing? Everyone good? So the first thing I'm going to do is welcome you to the bonus session. This is bonus session number 1. Woo, fantastic. As we promised you, there's 2 things that we're trying to achieve with these bonus sessions. Number 1, we'd like to share with you a simple productivity system to allow you to go home and do this stuff without feeling overwhelmed. Will that be useful to you guys, yes? How many people here have a million tasks to do and they never quite get around to doing any of them? Anyone? All right? That's kind of humanity there, right there, isn't it? And who run a business and know they could be much more effective in their business if they could get the stuff done that they want to get done, right? That's all of you. If you're not there now, you will be as soon as you leave the seminar, because that's what you've been prepared here for. There is a lot of little things that happen in a business, right? There's a lot of little things that happen in life. So there must be a way to be able to work through or collate these things so that you don't get overwhelmed by them. And that's really what a productivity system is designed to do. Do you want to take them through the first stage quickly?
Let's take them.
Okay.
So we've got, and this will be in your resource guide, by the way, guys, in case my horrible handwriting doesn't translate that well. So we've got a bunch of stuff. This is tasks you have to do, stuff you have to process, email that comes in, junk mail, that kind of stuff. All that stuff that just kind of piles up. It's life happening, right? So we've got this stuff that's just coming at you, and we need to organize it in a way that we can actually just take some action on it, right? We want to get done with our tasks so we can enjoy our life, enjoy our business, and really help more people because we're getting more done. So one of the things I like to do is to separate all the stuff that's coming in into a few different boxes so that I can tell what I need to do with it, if I even want to do anything with it at all, or if I need to just throw it away. And the first filter that I'll put on the stuff that's coming in is, can I take action on it? If, and you'll see in a moment, if you're getting stuff in your life that's like, maybe it's you have to do the laundry. That's something you can take action on, right? But maybe it's something that someone says, oh, you should, read this really long email that I just sent you. And there's nothing I want you to do. I just want you to have that for your reference. There's not really much you can do about that other than just, read it, of course, right? So the first filter, as I said, I put all of the things that are coming into my sort of inbox into this filter first. Can I do something with it? And obviously there's a yes or a no. And I go with no first because, let's say if I go no here, no gives me 3 options. The first option I always choose, if I can, is to trash it. All this stuff that collects in our lives, we keep it around. It's like these little reminders of, oh, I remember that scrap of paper that I had from the movie theater, my little ticket. What is it even doing around here? Throw it away. You don't need it, throw it away. So the first thing I do is trash it. Next thing, if it's not actionable, and maybe you want to keep it. Maybe this is useful information, like someone sent you that really long email, but it's got some useful stuff in it. Maybe it's got some ideas for later, but you can't just deal with it right now. I put that into sort of a reference pile. And that reference pile allows me to go back and, in a nice way, kind of search for things. And, maybe I'm doing a project, like, for instance, a hypnotherapy business seminar. And I was getting a lot of information from friends or clients on, oh, this is what I do for here, this is what I do for this. Or I'm collecting a ton of information on a productivity system, or what ideas for how many different types of venues you could possibly speak at. So I'll keep these in kind of like a nice reference file. I'm not ready to do anything with them yet, but they're there for my information. They're really good, right? So it's a useful bucket to put these things in. Can't really do anything with it yet, but you can refer back to it for your information later. The next is that last bucket of, I can't really do anything about it now, or maybe I don't even really want to. And that goes into sort of a maybe, sort of someday folder, where I get a lot of proposals from people when I'll go to speak at a seminar, for instance, on golf performance. I have a lot of golfers then come up and say, hey, I'd really love to have you create a product for golfers who need to lose weight and are over 55. And I say, great, that's something I might be interested in, but not today. So I'll put that information into that third bucket there of maybe someday. And if I decide later, oh, you know what, I need some more products for the golfing niche that I'm in. Maybe that golfer, weight loss for golfers might be an interesting thing, so I can pull up stuff out of that folder and go, oh, yeah, this was good stuff. I remember that guy. And with things like that, I'll collect information like their names, their emails, stuff like that, so I, remember, hopefully, the context in which I got that sort of someday, maybe magical project that I'm not going to be able to do today, but I might want to do someday. So is this making sense to you guys? We want to trash some stuff as early as possible, right? Then you can decide if, yeah, it might be useful for you. You can add it as reference for something you're probably working on currently. And then the third bucket of just maybe someday, I'm not sure if I'm going to ever get to it, but at least it's out of my head. I don't have to remember it all the time. Next, so if I can take action on it, that's really great. Oftentimes, tasks stick around that are small. So the next thing that I try to do, if I've already eliminated a lot of stuff with these three actions right here, I ask myself, will this take 2 minutes or less? If it's going to take me 2 minutes or less, just do it. And this is stuff like, go to the mailbox and get the mail. These are things you have to do. They're really easy. And yeah, you could let them pile up if you want to, but again, these little 2-minute tasks can start to overwhelm a huge list of stuff that you have to do, and then you'll never get anything done, right? I'm sure you all have tons of lists of little tiny things you can do, but you're like, oh God, I don't want to do any of them, right? No? Yes? Okay, good. I thought it was just me. All right, so if it can't take 2 minutes or less to do, I'm going to have to put that in a list somewhere, right? I'm going to have to keep track of something so that I can break it down into, let's call it, a project. Now this word has different meanings to different people. For me, a project is simply a group of tasks. That's it. It can have some priority if you want. You can make things more complicated if you like. But for me, a project is a group of tasks that I need to do to get done.
So think of it this way. If you're going to go to the doctor to have your health checked out for your annual fitness test, right? There are many things you have to do in order to get that fitness test done, do you not? Now, a lot of you might think, oh, get fitness test. But your mind gets overloaded by that because there are invisible tasks there that you can't even contemplate, and you kind of know it unconsciously, and so you feel like this sense of like, oh, I can't quite do this. What do you need to do? What needs to happen in order to get that fitness test? Well, you need to call the doctor, make an appointment, don't you? But even that is still a mini project because it's not the first thing you can do. How on earth are you going to call the doctor unless you know the number? Now, unless you've memorized it, you'll need to have task 1 is find the doctor's number, right? Task 2 is get on the phone. Task 3 is make an appointment. Task 4 is get in your car at the appointed time and drive. Task 5 is register with a nurse. Task 6 is wait for the doctor and get prodded and poked and so on. Then you have your certificate. 6 tasks to get your fitness test done or your annual health check and so on. Do you see how that works, guys? So getting your annual health check is a project. Even though it's a very small project, it is a project. Some projects will have thousands of tasks in it. It might be, for example, like write a book, right? Anyone here have a book in them? Anyone feel like they have a book inside them, right?
That's a good project.
If you write down, okay, Monday, write a book. Tuesday, keep writing the book. Wednesday, keep writing the book. That is not a task, folks, right? That's a recipe for overwhelm. If, on the other hand, you break down writing a book, what does it require? It requires some research. It requires some processing time. It requires this, that. And then you might have a weekly task of just writing. The process of writing, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, is unimportant. Now you can break it down into actual chunks. It might be create the chapters and so on. Does that make sense to you guys? So do you understand this idea of projects a little bit more? Sorry, please carry on.
So underneath those projects, as Igor was saying, we have some tasks to do, right? Now, I prefer to break tasks down into a little bit of a finer level, and I'll show you why in a sec. So let's say we have a project and it's got a bunch of tasks. Let's go with the book example. I've got to write a book. And one of those tasks might be to call up an editor. And let's say that I don't really have time to call an editor, and I've got an assistant that can do some stuff for me. This would be a really great time to delegate to them, right? So what I do with tasks, there's two buckets that I put tasks into. One is to delegate those tasks to someone else. Even stuff as simple as take out the trash. Maybe I decide to delegate that to my beautiful wife back there. Who knows? It's something that's on my list, but I could delegate that to somebody else. The next thing I look to see if I can do for tasks is if I can, if I need to defer them. These are things that I don't need to do right now. Maybe it's like an appointment. That says defer on there. So with something you need to defer, I can't do some stuff right now, right? Maybe I have an appointment, So maybe I have an appointment on Thursday, and it's Wednesday today. What would be a really great way, and I'm sure you guys know, to keep track of something that I need to do on Thursday? Put it in a calendar, right? So if I'm deferring stuff, one of the ways I'll do that is to put it into a calendar. The rest of the stuff, I know I need to do an outline, but maybe I don't have a particular deadline for that. Maybe it's not time-based, for my book. If I'm deciding to write a book and I want to do an outline, and I know that's the next thing that I need to do to make my book actually become something that's out here in the world in reality, then, and I don't have, let's say, my computer's being used here for the presentation, I don't have access to my computer right now, so I can't do that. So that goes onto my list of what to do next. And we talked about this principle before, where, remember back when we said, when you have a goal, and you know what the next step is, that's really all you need to know? Breaking down your tasks into this stuff, getting rid of 80% of your stuff. The 20% you're left with, those next steps, your list shrinks down into the actionable stuff that you can do right now, today, possibly, or whenever you have time to look at that list again, so that you can move one step closer. One more step closer to that goal that you have as a project here. And every time I check off one of these sort of next actions, these tasks that I can do, I go, well, what's the next action after that? And I run through, starting from the beginning. So as soon as I check this off, I say, oh, well, I've written the outline for my book. I might want to write the first chapter. And that might even be a big project enough. Let's write the first sentence. You don't have to get that minute, but you're starting to understand where I'm going, right? So I would say, oh, well, this is some stuff. And yeah, it's actionable. I need to write the first chapter of my book, and I've got time to do it right now. Is this going to take me 2 minutes or less? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it'd be the world's shortest book. I can write in 2 minutes, or I'm really fast at typing. Some people like to use their voice to type their books, and that's great. So maybe I decide, you know what, I can knock out the first paragraph without even getting it on my list. It's just done. Or, you know, instead of, it doesn't take 2 minutes or less, then I can delegate it to somebody else. Maybe I have a ghostwriter for my book, and I say, hey, write this, this first chapter. And if that's not realistic for you, defer it. So it goes on your list as the next thing you can do for this project. So does that make sense as a complete system of a few buckets that you can put things in, and most of it is trash? You can just get rid of it out of your life. Does that feel like a system that can streamline the amount of stuff that you have to do? Yes?
Yeah.
Yes? You got a question?
Are you saying on the 2 minutes or less, if it's yes, just do it then, and then come to the next in your stuff list?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Do you have a quick run through this to get an experience of what we're talking about here? All right. Let's simplify this whole process. This is what we're aiming towards, but let's make it real simple, right? How many of you have a workspace in the home or your office, etc.? Yes. Now, would it be fair to say that for most of you, that workspace looks like a bomb hit it and the cat threw up on it and then the dog fought the cat? Would that be fair to say yes? The problem with a workspace like this, it unconsciously anchors lots and lots of things that you should do, could do, might do, have to do, and it fills up your mind with worry. So you worry so much, you do none of it. What ends up happening? You procrastinate away from the table to areas that are clean. Think about it. Look at this table right here. It's a little messy, isn't it? If you're going to do something important, you're going to do it there, or you're going to do it on that empty table over there, where you can spread your stuff out and focus and concentrate only on what you need to be doing. Think of it this way. Anything that grabs your attention is splitting your focus. It's pulling mental energy away. Even if it's only a small stream, it's pulling mental energy away from what is in front of you. The more things are in front of you to pull mental energy away from that, the less energy you have left to get a task done. And for some things, you need all of your attention. You do not need to have it wasted away. So when you have clutter, essentially, you can have as much clutter as you want in your life, in your house. But in order to get stuff done, you need to have, that clutter is the equivalent of putting an ankle shell around you with a nice heavy weight. And the more of those you have, the harder you work to move forwards. And doesn't that kind of feel how your projects feel sometimes? Like someone's basically attached bungee cords to you, and every step forward you take, it gets snapped back again. So the first thing you want to do is get rid of it all. Get a big bucket, literally a bucket or a box or a bathtub or a new house, whatever works for you and you can afford. Take it all and just dump it in a box. You'll instantly have a clean table, clean office. Now, there's a lot of stuff to process, a lot of stuff to get through, isn't there? But at least now you can start something, you start using the system outlined here to start doing something with it. Does that make sense as a first step? So now you have a big bucket and your entire life's mess is there looking like abstract art, and this will be sold for $5 million one day in time, right? That's kind of what happens, right? So you have your bucket and you look at it and go, we've got to do something with this stuff. You've got to process it at some point. Collecting it is just a relief, but it's only the beginning. Now the good news is this only happens once or twice, depending on how often you let things fall apart in your life, right? It goes in there. Now you've got to do stuff with it, which is the doing, deferring, and so on, right? Right. So the rule of thumb with this is very simple. Again, it's a rule of thumb. You get to make your own rules of thumb. This is my rule of thumb. I'm sure Joe has his own version of that rule of thumb. When I did this, I felt, whew, like $1 million. And then I made $1 million. So all you do is, you have all your stuff, your books, your emails you're going to send and all the rest of it. What I did was, I had one of these things virtually. All my emails went into process someday email file. Then I had all my folders on my desktop going into deal with later or deal with someday thing. And now my desktop was empty. And then in my house, or the place I was living at the time, I took it all. I literally got one of these big laundry baskets. Everything was thrown in there, including the coat with the button that I had to sew on some point. All went in there, right? Then I just choose one item at random. Out it comes. That's it. I don't care what it is. It just comes out, right? And then you have a real simple choice to make. And this is going back to what Joe was saying here. The real simple choice is That's the only question you ask yourself. Can I do this in 2 minutes or less? Can I deal with this in 2 minutes or less? Now, what does dealing with this mean? You could dump it because you don't care about it anymore, right? You look at it and go, my God, why on earth did I keep a half-broken screwdriver for such a long time? I don't really need it. Here's my trash can. It's done. Weight off my mind. That's one little handcuff, one little weight shifted away from you, right? You might find that you can, use that, just as Joe was saying, you can delegate it. You can say, you know what? I'm not going to do this. Sarah likes to do this sort of stuff. Here, you deal with it. Sent, done. If you can do it in 2 minutes or less. If you can delegate it in 2 minutes or less. If you have to look up Sarah's phone number and then call her and say, do you want to do this? And then they say yes, and then you put it in a mailbox and you send it, that's much longer than 2 minutes, isn't it? So at that point, you don't do it yet. We'll deal with that in a moment, right? So you can either dump it, you can delegate it, or you can actually do it. In other words, you complete it, right? You have an envelope, you have a stamp, you lick the stamp, you put it in the envelope, it's done. 6 months after, you want to send that mail out, right? Do you understand the simplicity of what I'm talking about here? Only if any of these things can be done in those 2 minutes or less, you then process it in that way. What happens if you can't do it in those 2 minutes or less? Well, then that's where the other part comes in. If you look at it and you go, yeah, I can't do it in 2 minutes, right? I've got to call someone, do something else with it, or I don't really know what to do with this. Yeah, that's a lot of stuff in there. Like half the time you're sitting there going, I've got to think about this for a while, right? Those are not 2 minute tasks. Would that be fair to say? So everything else goes into a new thing, which you can call your inbox if you like, right? That's stuff for you to process later on. So basically, can you think about, or can you see how this mess that you've allowed your life to get into could be processed in a matter of hours, or depending on how messy your life has become, days, but you can just go through it. Most people will take between half a day and 2 days to go through that, right? It depends on where you are at in life. Once you've done that, your mind will feel an immense relief. You will have a release of energy because all those little tasks were biting the back of your mind. Now your mind knows that something's going to happen with them because they're ready to be dealt with. They've been dealt with to some degree. And those things you can't delegate, dump, or do, well, they've been prepared for doing something with later. Does that make sense? Yeah? Easy so far? Now, you do exactly the same thing again, only now you actually give yourself time. You budget time and say, right, you know what? I'll spend an hour, and I'm going to go through each of these items here and decide what, you don't even decide, you don't have to do anything about them. You just decide what to do about them. And if you can't do it here, you'll do it here. In other words, if you have, so you have two ideas here. You have a task you know will take you 10 minutes, and you have a task that you have no idea what to do with, right? The 10-minute task, you just put into your to-do pile. You make a little note. Do this item. It'll take me 10 minutes. And at some point, you'll budget that time in to do those things. Make sense? If you have no idea what to do with it, you put another pile and go, at some point, I'll spend an hour where I'll take each item and really think about it. And then decide what to do about it when I do it in my to-do pile, when I have my list of what to do with it. Do you see how very quickly everything gets organized? Right? A whole bunch of stuff like this will then just disappear. It'll dissolve. You'll dump it, you'll delegate it, you won't care about it after thinking about it, and you'll feel good about the fact that you haven't lost it. You just realize you don't really care enough to do anything with it. Does that make sense as an overall concept? Go ahead.
What do you do with things that you need to practice like on a daily basis?
What do you need to do? What do you do with things you need to practice on a daily basis, right? Your schedule, that's where the calendar stuff comes in. We'll just pause that as an idea for now because it's adding an extra layer on top of what we're doing right now. Just get the idea of basically of how to organize your life very quickly, very simply with no effort. Yes? It's a huge relief. Would you like to have an experience of that?
Sure.
All right. Step number 1 is what? Collect everything in your life, right? And put it somewhere other than your workspace. Put it somewhere to be processed. Look at your work tables right now. Would you fair say they're a little bit messy, they've kind of deteriorated a little bit? So what I would like you to do right now is put everything in your workspace away. So if your glasses are finished, you may be able to deal with it very quickly, get it done. Just put everything away. Your workspace is clean. The only thing on that workspace I would like to see left, you may as well leave the water jugs because they're the water jugs. Your glass, if you can hold on to it, hold on to it. Otherwise, put it away. If you don't know whose glass is anymore, put it away on the corner there. You have a bunch of cards on here. That's the only thing that should be left on your table. A bunch of cards and your water jugs is the only thing that should be left on your table. Everything else can go in a little pile. Everything else can go nicely in a little pile. And you can deal with it later. And that includes your notes, by the way. You can pick up your notes again in a moment's time, that's fine. Don't try to do it all yet, just collect it all and clear the space. Move everything away, your laptop, your notebook, everything, put it in one thing. Your table will only have 2 jugs of water and a little pile of note paper that we gave you earlier on, the little pile of stuff with stuff printed on it. Nope, all goes away. The dice you were given, put them in your pocket, put in your purse, I don't care where it goes, put it all away. Take your pencils, put them away. Take the dice, 1 dice per person, put them away. Take your water glasses. If you want to hold it, you can hold it, but put it away otherwise. Coffee cups, put it away. Phones, put it away. Pens, put them away. Dice, put them away. There's dice over there, put them all away. Everyone should have 1 die. Take it, put it in your pocket, wherever you want to deal with it. Okay, now let's just take a pause here, folks. Let's just take a pause here. Now look at the table in front of you. How much more ready would you be right now to get something important done? How much easier is this here, right? Now, we've done this a little artificially because we're only doing partially. We haven't shown you how to deal with the water glasses and the washing up and the notebooks and all that sort of stuff. But we're getting the sense of what we're talking about here. If you had something important in your life that you need to take care of but you've been avoiding, when are you most likely to deal with that? With this table that you're facing right now or the one you had a moment ago? Which one is it? This one right here, right? And I will warn you, you guys here in the middle here, you'll have more of a hard time than these guys because you have more stuff on your table to occupy your attention. And this is not a criticism, guys. Please, this is not school. I'm not telling you off or anything like that. I'm just pointing out to you, just feel it. Take everything off the table for a moment and just out of sight. And notice how you feel differently looking at it now. Because each item in front of you demands some form of attention. It must be processed. If you want to have more proof of that, take the water jugs, put them on the floor for a moment, so you have an empty table, and you will feel slightly differently yet again. Can you notice that? Yes? You can put it right back in afterwards if you want. We don't want to have a big accident with water and so on. I would just like you to notice when you look at that table now, how much more ready are you? How much freer does your mind feel? Would that be fair to say? Can you feel that? Yes? Folks, is this my hallucination or is it just me? Yes? So you can bring the water jugs back in a moment if you want. The point here is very simple. Every item that is in your perceptual field requires attention. That requires energy. And that's going to take energy away from your task, which is going to increase the likelihood of procrastination. Hence, we collect it all, we put it in one big bucket, and we'll deal with it one at a time. Does that make sense, you guys? Yeah? Now, you have a pile of little notes in front of you with things on them, written on them, correct? That represents what a typical life might include, especially a business life. So what we're going to do now is that we've collected everything in here. We're going to pretend that that list, those little bits of paper in there, are the only things that you have to deal with. That's what's all in here. So we just get a little bit of practice of this. Is that okay with you guys? So now the next thing that we need to do, we need to create a couple of folders, little things to know how to process things, right? We'll need something like a bin to dump things in. We'll need something which says, oh, I'll think about this later. We'll need something that says, I'll do this later, or I know when to do this, but I'll do this later, and you'll put something in there. And you'll need something which is just going to be to store it, we'll never do it. Something which one day, maybe if I get time to do it, I'll do it. Do you see how there's different ways you can categorize this? There are many different ways and different categories you can have. You'll create your own as you go along. Would you like to know what categories I currently use? Would that be of use to you? Number one, it's something I've got to do for business. That's one list. It's projects, like you were talking about, things I've got to do for our business, right? It may be something simple as send someone an email. It may be as complex as record a 40-hour product, right? I just record them one at a time, and later on, I'll think about what that is. I'm just going to do one little list. Now, I'm not going to draw the list out. I literally have I have an electronic version of this, but I will literally have a folder where it says one piece of paper, 40-hour program. Another piece of paper, tie your shoelace. Something random like that, right? I have a second folder. The second folder is for shopping. When I'm out shopping, I need food, I need pens, I need whatever. I just bring that with me, and I know everything I need to do whilst I'm out shopping is in there. It's very simple, right? I have a third folder, which is things I will do if I have spare time, usually personal projects, things I want to read, things I want to learn about, and so on, right? And the final folder I have, and these are really the only folders I use. I've got some others for more rare occasions. The final folder I have is for people, when I meet them, I have specific conversations. For example, my business partner, Cliff, next time I speak, I have a list of things I need to talk about. I have a personal assistant, a VPA, so next time we speak, here are the things I want to talk through with that person about. And that's it. That's all I have. Now, when I'm going through my pile, I decide, okay, do I need to do this? Can I do this right now, get rid of it? Do I put it into, I'll do it someday, like the code goes into I'll do it when I get time, but I'm not going to be fussed if I run around with all manky code for a while, right? Unless, of course, all the buttons fall off, in which case it's gone up to the priority list, because now I'm getting cold. So now it's to do instantly again. You see the difference here? So now we had some some blank pieces of paper on the thing, right? What I'd like you to do is just grab a bunch of blank paper. You can get some more from the corner if you need to. Each one of you, I'd like you to collect 4 blank bits of paper per person. Or you can do this in a team and do it in pairs if you prefer. It doesn't matter. The point is you get a sense for this. So what I want you to do now, those 4 pieces of paper will represent those different kind of folders you want to have. I recommend you have one, which is important tasks that you know what to do with. One is things to think about and realize what to do with. What other ones would you recommend?
People to talk to.
People to talk to. Stuff to talk about with people that you need to talk to. Anything else that might be interesting? I don't know what is on the list right now. Is any shopping on that list?
There might be some shopping on that list.
All right. Well, let's try the shopping one as well, just to give you a feel for this, right? So one is, you can put it, you could call it an inbox or your to-do list or projects. I call mine projects, but you don't have to. Another is people you need to talk to about stuff. Another is a list of things you need to think about. So each piece of paper, one has one, two, basically each one has a different title on it. So one, things to think about, one, things to do, one, things to do when you're shopping, one, which is people I need to talk to about certain things. Easy?
So that was like 6 things.
It's 4. Start again. 1, things to do, projects, whatever you want to call it. 2, things to think about. 3, things to buy when you're out shopping or things you need to get. And 4, things you need to talk to people about. Easy? I'd like you to fold those pieces of paper in half with that title on the outside so you can see it. And in fact, let me demonstrate what I'm talking about. This is a very complex activity here. Are you ready for this? Watch me roll up my sleeves and nothing up my sleeves except arms. In fact, let's use this version here. Are you ready for this? This is the complex activity. You fold in half like so. Is this difficult? Then I would like you to take this stapler and do a complex activity you now have created for yourself a simple little wallet. You can buy these in plastic in any shop, but you can do this for free here right now with a handy little stapler. You now have 4 wallets to put stuff into. You have your 4 wallets, yes? I would like you to delegate one person to be in charge of the following thing just because we only have 1 pile of paper in the middle. So quickly choose someone whose wallet you're going to use. I'd recommend it's the one with the best handwriting just because you can all read it then, right? Do you all have one person whose wallet you're going to use, yes? Yes. All right. All right, let's have your attention up front, everyone. If you want to line your wallets up, you can do so. Otherwise, how you're going to organize it up is fine. Please, someone grab that pile of little notes that we gave you earlier. Try and keep them in roughly the same order if possible. If not, that's fine. Okay, so here's what we do. Are you ready for this? Folks, attention up front, please. Are you ready for this, yes? Someone read the first item on the list to me. Do shopping, right? Which pile does that belong to? Can you do that in 2 minutes? Of course, you can process it in 2 minutes. Which pile? Stick it in there. Take it, stick it in. Let's do this one at a time. Someone read out what's on the top of your pile. Anyone? Say again. Read book X, right? That's a simple activity, yes? So, where's it going to go into? Your to-do thing, to think about things, your shopping things, or to talk to people about things? Think about it to see whether or not you actually want to bother reading that book, right? Other of you might think, I know what book it is and I have to read it, so I'm going to put it into my to-do pile, and then later on I'll decide when I'm going to do it, right? Does that make sense? So you see how you all do it in different ways? What's the next item on the list, someone?
Write a blog post.
Write a blog post. Is that something you do, think about? You think about it first, right? So, you put in your think about pile because you may have to think about what you're going to write. Do you get a sense of where we're going with this? So let's just pause before we finish the game here, guys. Before we finish this particular game, let's just pause here. You get a sense of what we're going with this, yes? May I introduce one more item, one more nuance that will make this effective and practical? Yes? One more item, not too overloading, yes? What I would like you to do is get some more of those bits of paper. If you want to tear up someone else's envelope, that's fine for now. So just get some more blank paper. Everyone got some blank paper? Yes. You only need a few sheets for now. You get to do this at home in your own time when we've released you into the wild again. I would like you to take that paper, and for the sake of what we're doing here, just because it's easier, I'd like you to simply tear it in half. So you have 2 bits of paper, which are roughly half a piece of paper in length, right? Again, this is just to make it easier for what we're doing here. You could just fold it in half if you prefer. I don't really care that much. You only need a couple, just get the feel for this, right? Now, let's take something simple like writing the blog post. Is writing a blog post a simple task that you can just do like that? For most people, it's not, right? Because what you need to do is you need to think about what to write about, maybe do some research for the content, then make some notes about that research, so you want to make some notes about what you want to write, then go to your website, log into your blog, and all the rest of it. Then you can start writing your blog post based on the research and the notes you've created. Wouldn't that be fair to say? It's about 5 tasks. What I used to do is take one of those bits of paper and write on the top of it, write a blog post. That is your project. That is your project. Easy so far? Underneath it, I would like you to write down what is the very first thing that you need to do in order to be able to write that blog post. Wait a second, folks. Decide on topic, research, which one are we going to go for? Which one's more important, or which one comes sooner? You've got to decide on the topic, right? If you have no topic, how can you do your research? Does that make sense? Everyone with me so far? If you don't know, that, we'll assume for now you know how to blog. This is a routine activity, right? It's just, otherwise we'll get into a mess with the whole thing here, right? So let's say you've already done blogs and so on. Right now, you're going to write another blog post. In order to write that blog post, you've got to decide on a topic. It's something you've got to think about, correct? Now, there are many things that you may have to do afterwards before you can write that blog post. Is that right? If you can think of those right now, feel free to write them lower on the list or not. It doesn't really matter. If you can think of it, you write it on the list to capture it so you don't have to think about it. If you cannot, then don't worry about it. When you do think about it, you can pull the list out again and add some stuff to it. Do you see how that works? Yeah? Then you take that piece of paper and you slide it into your think about pile. That's it. Just slide it in there. And now you have a whole bunch of things. When you have a couple of hours time and you want to think about some stuff, you'll go into your pile and go, oh, let's think about this one. Now let's make this really practical, shall we? Shall we make it really practical? Pull it out of the wallet again. Put a date on when you want to do it. If you don't know exactly when, I personally have soft dates, which is basically, I'll say, well, it has to be done sometime in the next week. So if I put it in for the day after tomorrow, chances that I'll have an hour the day after tomorrow to do it is pretty decent. So I'll put them 10 a.m. on Wednesday, the whatever date it is, right? As soon as I've done that, I will put that in my calendar, 10 a.m. on Wednesday. Think about the title or the topic for the blog post. Now I know it's set. I can forget about it. I can go into the next item. Do you all understand how that works? It is now in the system, so to speak. And either I go to my, if I happen to have an hour spare and I'm waiting for someone to kind of arrive, and I happen to have my think about piled out there, you know what? Instead of wasting my time twiddling my thumbs, I'll just get one out and go, oh, let me think about this. Oh, this is great. Let's take some notes. I've done it early. Great. Or 10 a.m. comes along, my calendar alarm system comes up, or if you want to use a paper diary, you'll look at your paper diary in the morning and go, oh, yeah, today I'm going to think about that. 10 o'clock rocks round, it's 10 o'clock. Let's sit down. Let's think about this blog post. So it's in the system, and now you have a dedicated time for it. You are committing yourself to a meeting with yourself or with the material to get it done. Does that make sense to you guys? Do you see the simplicity of it, yes? You can elaborate it ad infinitum or condense it, depending on how much of a system that you want to have. So really, all that you're thinking about now is, what is the task? When do you want to do it? And you file it so that it's in the right place for you to do it when it comes to it, right? Give me another example, something else from that list, I don't care what it is, another random thing from that pile. Pull one out. Research seminar locations. What is the very first thing that must happen in order for you to be able to research seminar locations? Right, let's say you picked a city, right? What might you need to do? It's your city, so what might you need to do to research those locations? What part of town you want to do? So that's another thinking thing, right? Or you may already know intuitively. Let's say it takes you 2 seconds to think about it. As you think about it, what type of town? Oh, you know what? I'm going to the west side. Then your first activity might be go online and put in West Side, Philadelphia hotels, right? That's your search. Are you going to do it right now? Well, no, maybe it takes a little bit of time. It takes more than 2 minutes, right? I could think of the West Side in less than 2 minutes, so I might as well just do it quickly whilst I'm processing it. But then doing it takes a bit longer, so I'm going to defer it until when I know I'll have time to do it properly. Does that make sense to you guys? Once again, right? So go ahead and do that. Write down, research seminar locations, put down your first activity, which might be Google search, just to remind you what you're going to do, right? Once you've done that, what's the one thing that's missing from this? It's a when, isn't it? When will you decide to do this? You can do it early if you want, but maybe you'll have time this evening. So you know what? This evening I'll have a few hours to muck around on the internet. Might as well just fit that in there too, right? So it'll be today, 11 p.m., whatever. Now if you miss it, you just change the deadline. But then you're constantly processing. It's constantly in your mind. You know it's not going to drop out of your system. Do you see how this works? Yeah. So you're getting the idea for this so far, yes? Yeah. Any questions? Questions over here?
So the first thing that comes to my mind when I'm doing all this stuff, so research a seminar. Let's say we want to put on a seminar.
Yep.
So that's a big project,
Big project.
right? So let's say we have a project and it's to research a seminar. And one of the goals is to research locations. So obviously there's a few other things that we have to do. And now I look at this big project
Yep.
and I think, okay, so now I have to do all these things. So then you have to break down all those things, right, and put them into their own separate
So
files,
if you're,
right?
let's put it this way. If your mainly big project is to put on a seminar, right, then there may be several sub-projects that involves. One is create the seminar content itself. Another one will be find a location. A third one might be market it to people to get them on into the actual seminar, right?
Right.
So those are three simple activities. You may think of more, you may think of less. Those are three simple ones that pretty much fit in that square, right? So then you get those three things. You write one project. On the top of it is create seminar. And the other one you write research locations. And the other one is market the seminar. What's the first thing you need to do? Can you market a seminar before you know what it's about? No. So your first activity on that project is wait until you have a seminar worth marketing, right? Now, can you research locations? Maybe, maybe not. It depends on the style of seminars that you do. If some seminars are location sensitive, for example, you could do a skiing seminar or a swimming seminar, well, it'll matter what you look for, right? But if they're not location sensitive, you could start looking right now for potential locations. So your research locations project is, right, next Tuesday, go on Google, just find out what hotels are in the area, right? And then write down their contact details so you can contact them later in the process. Meanwhile, you go create the seminar, well, think about topic, which is kind of what we talked about in the blog. And the next thing might be research some ideas or brainstorm ideas and so on and so forth. So now 10 a.m. on Tuesday rocks up, you do your internet search, hotels are all there. You get down a bit early, so you think, you know what, I'm in the flow. Where was that thing again? Oh, here we go. Out it comes. Let me think about my topic. What am I going to teach them? What do I want to talk about here? Right? Now, you may not get done. You have other tasks to do. You go, great. So you'd have half done. Now you'll go back and say, all right, step number 2, you've done think about topic. Step number 2 might be think some more about the topic, because the time I had to think about it wasn't enough. That's okay. Does that help?
It does. What I've begun to realize is my original question really is, how do you do all of this without getting overloaded?
That's the whole point of this, right? It's one step at a time. In my experience, the fewer folders you have, the better it is.
Right.
So I put them all into one folder. So as I say, I have things I want to do, things I must do. These are the work-related tasks. Things I can do, but it doesn't matter if they don't get done. I'd like to get them done, but it doesn't matter too much. Shopping stuff, because when I'm shopping, I just grab the one folder. It's actually on my phone. I have an electronic version of this. I'll happily share what that is with you later. And when I'm just out shopping, I just go through my shopping list, and it's all there. As soon as I'm done with it, I'll cross it off. If something occurs to me in the middle of something else, I'll write it down quickly and then carry on with that other thing. It's off my mind then, right? And then I have what I need to talk to people about. Those are my 4 folders primarily. There's a few other tweaks there. So then really all my projects go into that things I need to do folder, right? Which will be design a seminar. This is how this thing happened, right? I had, for this is HBM, Hypnosis Business Method. Anything that was related to this seminar had the tag HBM at the beginning. So I wrote down different little sub-projects. HBM, after that, there would be resources. That's the manual you'll be getting, right? And in there, the task would be, okay, number 1, research or write up the lecture demo, for example, right? So I know I'm going to write up the lecture demo on date X, right? Then I have in my things to talk to people about pile, there'll be HBM. This is in a different envelope now. Joe. I need to talk to Joe because without him, well, there's not much of a seminar here, right?
So
We're cooperating.
Wouldn't you also break that down though into other
Absolutely.
things?
So HBM Joe, this is I need to talk to him about stuff. So what do I need to talk to him about? Well, we need to talk about the design. So my first call will be the training design. My next call might be the resources, right? The next call might be, well, actually I had some great ideas like with the map and so on. So play the game with him and so on. You see how that's going with it? Now, these weren't all there at the beginning. At first, my first thing was really just literally call him, see where we're going with this, and have a chat. Put a nice 2-3 hour block aside, we had a long conversation, and we sketched out the seminar. Then we weren't done, so once this was done here, all I did here was change the date from X to Y, because we weren't done with that conversation. Right? But we were done for the day because we were both exhausted, so our time was up. My X got deleted. I've done this. My date gets changed. I still have him in my things to talk to people about folder. Meanwhile, I'm thinking about more things we need to talk about at some point, just not until I'm done with this one. See how that works? Meanwhile, I am busy creating different resources here, right? Then I have HBM artist, my guy called Marcus. And here, we need to talk to him about the map. Do you like the map? Is it fun? So,
Say thank you, Marcus.
yeah,
I love you,
everyone say
Marcus.
thank you, Marcus. I'll send it to him, he'll like that. Right? So I need to talk to him about a map. So before I can do this, I suddenly realized the stuff that comes in here first. What needed to happen first? Well, I had to sketch the map, right? I had to send him the sketch, and then make an appointment, have a date when I can talk to him about the sketch, the stuff I sent him. Only then I can talk to him about the actual map that I want. And then after that, of course, there were other tasks like follow up on him. Is he doing the map, right? It's a lot of stuff that has to happen. But that's why you get overwhelmed, because you have all this stuff. Now, I'm not thinking about all this stuff. Let me show you exactly what I'm doing. Let's have a look at these bits of paper like this. Well, that's nice. You little happy birthday. So I'm going to give you a visual version of what I did digitally, right? And I'll show you the program I used for that. So we have a bunch of tasks. Talk to the artist, talk to the co-presenter about various stuff, create resources, maybe even have another one of these things about think about the project, right? Because I need to think about other problems to resolve, right? So now I have 4 bits of paper which represent 4 entries in my task manager, right? Talk to Joe, talk to artist, create resources, think about the project. Each one of them has a date on them, right? So I put them in date order so that today, all I do is I pull out the things that are today. All right, what am I doing today? Oh yeah, these are the things I've got to do today, right? These ones I don't have to think about because they're not dated today, they're for tomorrow. I can review them another time, right? So of these 2, it might be talk to the artist and create one of the resources. I'll check them through. I don't care about the rest of the list. It's just one item. Today, I'm going to create the lecture demo for you. And then later today, I'm going to call the artist to check on the progress of the map, right? 2 tasks. That's all I've got to do today. That's it. There may be other tasks as well, but now I can go, all right, it's 10 a.m. Sure, I'll do this thing. Sure, great. Am I done? No, but my call is coming up. And because my call is coming up, I can't finish the lecture demo outline. So now I go back to this, and I'll cross out the date, and I'll write in finish lecture demo outline. When I'll do it tomorrow at 10 a.m. This now goes into the pile for tomorrow, 10 a.m., 11 a.m., 12 a.m., and so on. I can now forget about it. I get on my call, done with the artist. Now let's say I'm talking to the artist, to Marcus, and I'm done in half an hour. I budgeted 2 hours because I thought it was going to be a long call. But in half an hour, he gets it, it's done. I'm going, oh, great. I've got an hour and a half to spare. I can cross it off my list here. Of course, I'll put the next action, which is follow up with him in a week's time, right? Put the date and time on. Now I can put it in the appropriate place. I can forget about it. And I have a choice to make. I can kick back, get a pizza, watch TV, and enjoy myself, which I might do. Or I go into my other piles and go, what else can I do? Well, you know what? I'm kind of in the mood of this whole hypnosis business method, so I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to pull out the lecture demo I haven't finished yet, and I'll finish it. That's off my list now. And I'll put another thing in for later on in the week. Do you see how really simple that becomes at that point? Because you're organizing it according to time or priority or however you want to do this. It's all in a simple pile. And as soon as it's get ready to work, just pull the top one off. Yeah, I'll go with that. Or you know what? Today, I'm really not in the mood. Let's say one of these things here is to record a CD. And today my voice is off. Or maybe I'm feeling a little low. It's a little bit gloomy outside. I don't feel particularly happy. And you know, doing a depressed hypnosis script might not be the best. Like, yeah. Life is great. You'll enjoy yourself. Right? So I'll take that task. I'm saying, yeah, it's not for today. I'll change the date. Maybe tomorrow is a better day. Maybe 3 days from now will be a better date. You know what? This is a really crappy week. I'll delay till next week. It's not urgent, so I'll change the date for next week. Put it way at the bottom of the pile. I can now forget about it. What can I do today? You know what? I didn't have that much energy. I'm just going to pick through these things until I find a task that's really simple. Yeah, I'll do that one, that one, that one. These ones can really wait. Change the dates. Done. I don't have the energy for them today. Do you see how that works? I'm here right now. My tasks are backing up because I'm busy the whole day. The chance of me doing anything tonight are slim to none, right? So because my task manager is automated, it reminds me of all kinds of stuff that I haven't done yet, but I'm ignoring it. For now, it's off. That means when I finish here, I'm going to go back, and I'm starting from scratch. Well, it's not quite scratch, but it's close to this again. I'll have to reprocess everything to get everything reorganized. Then I'm back on track, and then I'll decide which things will be on what dates and so on. Do you see how that works? So I'm not keeping track. I am not keeping track of this. I do not have to keep track of all this. All I've got to decide is, what is today about? And that's this. And then I just go, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What was that about? Oh, yeah, of course. 6, 7, 8. Got it. Right? Now sit down. Do number, no, not yet. Not yet. Yeah, I like this one. Gets done. Processed, off it goes. Either I dump it because it's finished, or I put the next task down, the next date down, goes to the bottom of the pile, next thing, and so on and so forth. Do you see how that works? It's one list, one simple pile. This is done with paper right now because we're just kind of showing you it physically, and that can complicate things a bit. But electronically, there are so many variants of things that will let you do this electronically. You can have a simple calendar if you want. There are many to-do apps for your iPhone or Android phone, all the rest of it, right? There are many different types of to-do lists or project managers and so on you can have for your laptop, your computer, your iPad, and so on. They will do these electronically. Now, I'll warn you, for the electronic versions, it took me a week to figure out a system and then figure out the different, I tried out, different apps for my iPhone that I didn't quite like the look of this or that and the other until I settled on one. And then it took me another few days. Actually, once I'd settled on one, I had a rough system. I had to run it for a week, or maybe 2 weeks, before I changed the system because it wasn't quite to my liking. It wasn't quite efficient enough. Because what I wanted is something that I can look at for 5 minutes in the morning, and I know exactly what I'm doing that day, and then just keep going through the day, and that's it. I do not have to spend much time on it. That's it. We'll be building up a system like that for you guys as we go along. But for now, do you understand the simplicity of what we're talking about? Yes? And there are many tools out there that could assist you to make it even easier, to automate it so it's giving you constant reminders, right? But for the moment, we don't need to go that step. This is just an introductory idea. Do you get the idea of this whole, how to organize the list according to time and a simple task? And then there's no overload, because all I have is 8 tasks for today. Those 8 tasks are 8 simple steps. If they're not simple, then they're too complex. I could break it down to something even simpler and decide how much of that I can realistically achieve in one go, which means I only have to think of 8 simple things to do. And they may include sit down for half an hour and think about what I'd like to achieve, right? What do I want to achieve with a seminar? Okay, let's think about it for half an hour. We have all these people, where they like to come from, Okay, what are the issues going to be? What are the skill experience? What are the most likely stumbling blocks? I'm just thinking about this stuff, and I might take notes as I go along. It's kind of all free flow, right? I can't even design a seminar until I've had my own client profile for you guys to know what I'm trying to achieve here. Do you see how this stuff works? And it's real simple, because if it's not simple, it's not a task. It's a project. There's many steps involved. So all I do is I'll decide what is the first of those many steps. And that's the one that goes down and gets timed and so on. Now the chances are once I get to the first little step, I may end up doing the whole sequence and get it done much quicker than I thought I could. But I'm not overloaded because I'm not thinking about the entire thing. I'm just realizing that I can just work at it. Oh yeah, I can do that one. Right? For example, with the resources here, right? The first task on my list in terms of creating the resource pack, which by the way, will be a manual roughly this size, right? It has a lot of stuff in there. We'll talk more through it more as time goes by. The first task was to discuss with my co-presenter, Joe, now that we've got the idea of the seminar, what resources do we need to create for that seminar? So we had another 3-hour conversation about, okay, these are all the things we need to do. And then seeing as we're on the phone anyway, we decided, you do this, I'll do this, you do this, I'll do this. And we had our little list of resources to do. Now my list is ready, right? And then it's just a question of, okay, I'll get my list of things I need to do, create the resources. Yeah, too much effort, too much effort, too much effort. Yeah, I'll do this one today. Get it done. And chances are once I get into the flow of it, I'll do much more than I thought I would do anyways. Do you see how that works? It basically allows you to work with your mind rather than against it. Do you understand the principle of this? Yes? I sense that we have exhausted our energy levels for the day. So allow me to invite you to do a couple of things. The first thing I want to invite you to do is to take these cards away with you. Maybe one person takes them today and someone else tomorrow. Or you can invent your own versions. Just think a little bit about this system. It is a simple idea, isn't it? Tomorrow we'll extrapolate on it a little bit and do some more stuff with it. But think about this system in terms of how simple you can make it, how simple and effective you can make this for yourself. Whilst you're doing that, I'll come to you in a second if I may, just clear your tables again. You may as well, right? There are some things you don't care about. You can throw them away on your way out. There's some things you'll want to look at a little bit more. You can put them somewhere safe. You can store them for later processing. So just clear your table a little bit. As that's happening, Luke, you had a quick question? Say again?
Favorite part.
You never take tasks and make them longer. Oh, this process does not make your tasks longer than they need to be. Is that what you're asking? Yeah. So this is a great question. He's asking, does this process make your tasks longer than they need to be? There is a risk. Would you like to know what the risk is with this system? The risk with this system is you'll spend your entire day organizing your lists and reorganizing into perfection. And you get nothing done other than how well you've organized your lists, right? And that's a completely useless system. As far as I'm concerned, the only time that's useful is that first day or two when you process everything in your life and put it in the right kind of order, and then you're done with that processing. From that point onwards, all you will ever do is, number one, I do them in the morning, every morning at 10 a.m., unless, of course, I'm traveling when things change around a little bit. But at morning at 10 a.m., I have a reminder on my phone. It'll ring, and it says, review tasks. I open up my task manager, click on today, and it has all the lists I'm going to do today. It actually starts off with all the things I haven't done yet, which are overdue. I'll go through them, and I'll go, yeah, delay that, delay that, delay that, delay that, that changes dates. Then I'll look at all the things I've got to do today. I can do that, I can do that. Now, not for today. I can do that. And then all the other things I've got to do tomorrow, the day after, and the other are now in sequential order behind that. I can go through that entire thing in about 2 or 3 minutes, right? Then I just get on with my day. And as I get it done, off it goes. Done, off it goes. Rather than deleting the task, all I do is I go into it, and I'll look at, all right, I'll delete what I've put down as what I need to do on this one. What do I need to do next? Well, right now, I need to wait for someone to come back to me with an email. So I'll say, all right, check in with so-and-so by date X to see where they're at. If I get the email earlier, I can go back in and change that. Do you see how that works? But I'm doing this as I'm going along. Now, in the middle of the day, I might think of, oh, I've got to do this thing. Out comes my phone, and it gets typed very quickly. It's now in the system. I can forget about it, right? I get a bunch of emails in, right? I'll go, I can deal with this now, done, 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 done. 10 emails out the way in seconds, right? Most I delete. There's nothing for me to do. They're just either spam or things I'm interested in, but not that interested to get stressed over, right? I'll delete them. Then there's a couple which are a little trickier, so I'll just leave them there because I've got to think about them. And a couple of them that I know what to do with, it's just not now. So I'll put them into a special folder, which is to deal with later. And then I can shut my email off and I can get on with doing some work, right? Meanwhile, there's those 3 emails that I've got to think about a little bit because there's some stuff there. So I put a task in saying, a reminder to think about these 3 things or to do something with them. You see how that works? So literally, it takes a few seconds as my day progresses to keep up to date with this all. And I'm only spending 5 minutes in the morning to make sure that my mind is set on what I'm trying to achieve that day. Everything for the rest of the week, I don't care about. I might review it if I want to have extra stuff. I want to get a little preview of what's coming on. But still, I'm still within my 5-minute window. I'm not spending half an hour reviewing things endlessly. Then maybe at the end of the week, I might spend 10 minutes, shock horror, 5 minutes to see what I'm doing today, an extra 5 minutes to review the next week to make sure I'm keeping things, or maybe the next month. I actually tend to work on a month basis. It either happens this week or in the next month, because my tasks tend to be a little more time flexible, shall we say. And I've got a good sense of where I'm going with it. Now, this thing that I've been putting off for the last 3 weeks, I've kept missing the deadline on it. I realized now I've got to think about this. I've got to either do something about it now because my deadline's getting closer, or I've got to decide this is a project I'm not doing, which I mean I'll delegate it or I'll dump it in some way. So my time in the manager itself could be racked up to, at best, 30 minutes in a day, at best. That's including all the extra typing and deleting and so on. Meanwhile, my stuff I'm getting done 5 times as much as I did before because my energy is fresh. Does that help? If you find yourself, other than the initial processing, like we talked about, this initial bucket thing here, which can take a day or 2, some people take a week if they have a lot of stuff to go through. But other than this initial processing, you should only be spending 5 minutes review in the morning and up to 20 minutes or so during the day, keeping up to date, deleting the next task and adding the next step and so on. I've done this step, now delete this and add this next step and so on. It's as simple as that. Does that help? And that way, you do not overload. I don't overload. I'm giving you my experience. I'm just giving you what I do. I don't overload. I know the 6 things I'm going to do today, or the 10 things I'm going to do today, or the 1 thing I'm going to do today. And that's it. I'm done. And I'm like, you know what? I'm done with this stuff today. I can feel good. I'm going to take some time off now, right? Or, whoa, today was a heavy day. Or stuff happened that surprised me. So now I'm going to delay all these other things and just change the date quickly. There's no way I'll do this. There's no way I'll do this. There's no way I'll do this. Change it for a week from now. And I can deal with this that just happened. Does that help you guys? Does that give you a sense of where we're going with it? It sounds complex because it's a new concept at first, but really all I'm saying is, whether you do it electronically or on paper, is have one piece of paper with the main idea of the project that you're trying to achieve. On it, you can have as many of the steps as you need to. They can be in any random order because you can ignore them, just as long as the top of the list has the one step you'll do next. And if you can't do that step, it's only because you're waiting for something, in which case that's your next step, wait and check in, or because it's too much. My health check is not a step. It is a consequence of many steps. Does that make sense? Then I need to organize them in a sequence by time, as far as I'm concerned, right? The more important things just bump forward in time. And that's it. All I've got to do is look at what's on the top of my list. It'll be typically between 2 and 7 tasks for a day. It might be as many as 10 tasks if they're small, right? There's a whole bunch of optional things. I have another list of optional things. They're optional. I'm not going to get stressed over them. And chances are, most of those things I won't get done for 6 months. So what? It frees my mind up. It means all my energy is not gone on worrying not to forget about this stuff. It means I can go on to actually getting it done and then getting on with enjoying my life. Does that help? Does that answer your question? Was this useful to you guys? Yes. Do you like the idea of this sort of system? There's many different versions of this system. The granddaddy of them all is called Get Things Done or Getting Things Done. GTD, people swear by it, and it's a little book. It's actually very sensible. You can go through it. I'll just warn you, there are many elaborations on these different systems. If you find yourself spending more than 20 to 30 minutes a day managing the system, it's useless to you. Because it's supposed to free your time up, not consume more of your time, right? Rethink it. once again, for me, it took me, actually probably, I think it was more like 10 days to learn the system. I read that book. I read several other versions of it because I like to have different ideas within it. I soon learned that some versions were so hopelessly complex, I didn't need all that, so I just got rid of half that stuff. I started straight away. I just started it. My first 3 versions of this were too complex. They didn't work out. But then I refined it. So within 2 weeks, actually within 3 weeks, I had a system that works for me, and it works beautifully. I can offer you the principles. You understand the principles, right? There are many tools. I'll happily share some ideas about tools maybe on the next bonus sessions with you. But don't spend too much time here, right? Because it is tempting to spend time, especially with the little gadgets. You go, oh, that's so cool, it does this stuff and so on.
And there will always be a new little productivity system that you might want to try. And it could be worth your time to investigate.
Yeah.
But on the whole, if you have a system that you're happy with,
Use
and most importantly, one that you trust,
Yes.
one that can, adapt with you to your lifestyle, and your, unconscious really can trust you to keep that list and to, to work it. Yeah, sometimes you're going to have we have seminars today or all this week. Our lists are going to turn into this really quickly. So it's easy to fall off the wagon, but it's easy to jump right back on because there's an easy entry right back into the system. Yeah, it might take me an hour to get all of my tasks from this week that I'm missing back up to speed and on my list. But I know that it won't take me forever. It'll just simply take me maybe, an hour to kind of see what's happened and check the 1,000 emails that I've gotten and, process each one of those. But I do, simple processing, and that's all I do. If I can't do it in 2 minutes, it just goes on the list. I'll go on to the next one. Once it's processed, then it's organized, and then I can start to actually do the work. But the most important thing that I would say for a system that you choose for yourself is that you trust it and that you use it.
Because when you trust it, your unconscious mind starts trusting you. It's a two-way street, isn't it?
Wondering if either of you just naturally doing this without actually writing things down, like nurturing your
So the question is, can either of you actually do this without writing things down, doing it mentally? So the question is, won't you do this naturally beforehand already? I can tell you, I tend to be very organized as a person, and the answer is no. There is so much stuff in my life I have to keep track of, and as we become more successful as a business, it just exponentially grows. If I had I talked this to Joe over the lunch break. If my responsibilities today were the same level, the demands on me are the same level right now as when we first started the company about 5 years ago, we would probably have 3 times the amount of products we currently have. And we have a lot of products. Wouldn't that be fair to say, like 70 or so? I would probably have around 200 products out there right now if my time was had as many demands on it as I had back then. But as we've grown, more things require my attention. I cannot keep them in my mind. It's stressful. Now, perhaps someday I'll come up with some cool hypnotic journey where you can do all this mentally, but trust your unconscious to remind you at the right time. But that's way beyond the scope of what I'm currently capable of doing. So this is hands down the best thing I've come up with. I found, shall we say. Does that help?
Yeah.
Say again?
You can back up with this tool, so
You can back it up.
You can back it up.
Pretty hard to back this up.
Yeah. Someone good? Everyone got an idea? This is something for you to reflect on. It's not something you have to implement straight away. Some of you will be tempted to start doing things right now when you go home. And you're welcome to. You'll have fun with it, right? And it's actually okay to start with an incomplete list of tasks just to get used to the process. You're playing, you're experimenting, you're getting used to something. And when your mind begins to learn that it can trust you with that small pile, don't be too surprised if everything suddenly goes into that wonderful list where you'll know it gets done when and where you need it to. Because the secret to overcoming overwhelm is to only ever focus on what is the next step that I can do right now. And if you can't do it, it's not the next step. It may be to wait, or maybe to simplify to a simpler next step, or to think about what the next step might be if it's not immediately obvious. But we can all think, can we not? You can all decide what's simple and easy to do, can you not? And you've learned to trust yourself in many different things in your life, have you not? This will become something you can trust yourself with. And then you can feel relaxed, comfortable, and easy, no matter how much you need to get done. It frees your mind from stress, worry, and anxiety. Because when you're feeling stressed and worried about all these things that have to happen, it's because your unconscious mind is consumed with so many things that need to happen right now, as far as it's concerned. And all you need to tell it is not yet. Just deal with things one step at a time. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And as you think of it like that, and all the tasks in your own life currently presented to you, and you realize that for everything you need to achieve, there's only one next step. And for all those things you need to achieve, despite that one next step, you can forget all the other steps for now. There are some you can do today, some you can do tomorrow, some you can wait till next week, and some that can wait indefinitely. And already you may find that your mind is starting to sort out through all these different tasks, all the things that have been grabbing at your attention, and an ease begins to develop, does it not? Because it knows that something is beginning to happen that will allow you to ensure all these things can occur in a timely manner when you begin to integrate the process. And yes, there will be mistakes along the way. Enjoy them. It's part of the learning process. Your version of a productivity system will be different to mine and Joe's and everyone else's version because it fits your life. Rather than try and design the perfect system that fits everyone's needs everywhere, how about you learn some simple principles and make them fit your life? You may want one list like I have, or you may want 10 lists, one for each different project or different part or aspect of your life. Who knows? Who cares? Provided it works for you, and that ease your mind is beginning to develop continues and deepens. Can you feel that? So you might as well just take a moment and think of nothing. Let your mind just lazily drift around. And trust in yourself. So the experiences you've had here over the last hour or two, filter themselves in the right way so that you begin to have insights into how to use systems like this for yourself. Something simple, something easy. And begin to rejuvenate your mental energies, your physical energies. So that by the time we finish here and you walk back out there and it's a beautiful, glorious, warm Bahamas evening, you get to go out and leave everything you've done in here in the back of your mind, trusting your unconscious to sort it all out, put it in the right place, in the right order for you. So you get to enjoy your evening for a while. Eat some good food, spend time in good company, knowing full and well that when you walk through those doors again tomorrow, everything gets reactivated, because that's what your unconscious mind does best. And you will know, absolutely know, that a simple productivity system does that for you. It's like walking through those doors to remind you, oh, I can do this. So with those happy thoughts, as you allow your mind to revitalize, as your breathing maybe speeds up, as oxygen comes into your system, your muscles kind of stretch out a bit, your thinking clears up a little bit, and all the thoughts you had about how to do all this stuff can recede for a while until it's processed in the right way. That frees you up right now to have a little bit more energy, doesn't it? And then you can use that energy to enjoy yourself, because let's face it, if you've come all the way to the Bahamas, you may as well have some fun too, right? So who's going to have some fun tonight? Anyone? Great. Well, we're done for the moment. Tomorrow morning, we'll start it here at 9 a.m. sharp, so please be a little bit early. Aside from that, thank you very much, and good night.